Hello, everyone out there in Viewerland. Welcome to the Manic Monday edition of The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the left coast, the west coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras in California. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
No. I tend to show up on time and give you assistance here on the program on the rundown that we come to every day at 5 p.m. Eastern. And what's that, Craig? 2 p.m. Western out there on the Pacific Coast?
That would be 2 p.m. Western, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My name is Mike Poworski, and it's a pleasure to be here with you, Craig, and with all of you folks out there in Viewerland.
It's always a pleasure, always a pleasure. Sir, how was your weekend?
Woo! We did everything this weekend. Everything. So all those weekends of nothing, this weekend we made up for it and did everything.
Excellent. Excellent. That is good to hear. We pretty much had a nice casual weekend.
Yeah, and those I mostly enjoy, but this one came up, and you travel and concerts and boats and airplanes and chicks and guns and fire trucks, and we did it all. Yeah.
Sounds like an episode of Blackout Chronicles.
There might have been some of that in there. There might have been some of that in there. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, that is excellent to hear. We've now entered officially the month of November. I believe officially the holiday season has begun.
Yeah, I would say it was officially yesterday, right? I think it starts on the weekend before the Halloween and Halloween's Eve. But yeah, no, I will consent and say it is now the holiday season.
Okay, so I will not come down on those of you who already have your Christmas lights up, who actually put them up, I don't know, October 1st.
Yeah, come on. I saw people putting them up in September and August. You know, that's usually when I'm taking mine down. You know, my neighbors. Yeah, November, I'll give it to you. It's okay to start. I prefer to see it the day after Thanksgiving, but November is okay to put the Christmas lights up. I'll say.
Yes.
I will yield. I will yield. Yeah.
Exactly. We will officially allow you. You're okay. You're all right now.
Yep. So you got yours up yet? Is that what you did this weekend?
No, I did not. I did not get my lights up this weekend. I once again, I will say, and it was the second weekend in a row where I did absolutely nothing constructive.
Nice.
So
nice.
I was completely unproductive, which I really needed this past weekend.
Good for you, sir. Good for you.
All right, well, hey, let's get into today's stories. Let's start to actually, I don't know, be productive, if you want to call this show being productive.
Be productive.
Put on the productive hat.
There you go.
All right, let's get into the first story of the day. Now, you guys remember the church shooting that took place in Charlottesville? In Charlotte. You remember there was a church shooting. An individual went in, shot the place up. Well, the individual who actually had purchased a firearm went through a background check, legally purchased a firearm, supposedly. But it turns out the federal government has now settled the case in that particular, or settled a lawsuit in that particular case, where it turns out that he never should have passed the background check. And Mike, I guess the thing that gets me about this particular story is that I think if one looks at most of these cases where there are mass casualty events involving firearms, that more often than not, the government in one way or another shirked its responsibility and didn't do what it was supposed to do, which is what resulted in these events taking place, or at least in part contributed to, shall we say, these events taking place.
Yeah, Craig, there's three I can think of immediately off the top of my head, right? We had the Parkland shooting down in at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. He should have been on the no-buy list. We had the Pulse shooting. He should have been on the no-buy list. And the shooting in Laredo, Texas, where there was the former Air Force member who his convictions had never made it onto the background check either. So three immediately that I can think of in the past 3 years that this should have happened. I'm curious. The one we're talking about at a what is it, South Carolina? That was Dylan Ruff there, and the Fed. Like you said, $88 million lawsuit. Those that perished, families are going to get between $6 and $7.5 million. The survivors, the ones that were also shot and injured in the church, are going to get up to $5 million a piece. I'm curious how. I'm going to have to go back and take a look at this case because when it was filed, I believe the overwhelming consensus was it'll never go anywhere because you can't sue the federal government. Well, they did. This is the Department of Justice, so that's one I've got to go back and research beyond this story to see. But I think the biggest fault here was, this was paperwork, this was clerical, but at some point, if you remember the former FBI director, James Comey, what a treat he was, right? Said, oh yeah, we messed up that. And that was it. That was enough. I think that might have been the provision where they were able to get it into court because his statements may have shown the negligence needed, to get around the provisions where you can't sue the federal government. So very, very interesting.
Yeah, not being an attorney, I'm not really sure exactly how all that worked, but I think more often than not, once again, I still believe more often than not there's at least 2 or 3 cases here in California alone where the government had the ability to do something and did not. There was the San Bernardino shooting, there was the San Bernardino shooting, there was the Santa Barbara shooting, there was the shooting that took place. Oh, I'm trying to remember. Oh, Tehama County, which is Northern California. I mean, those are just 3 cases right here in California where the government had the ability to do something prior to an event happening, and they did nothing, and resulted in, once again, a mass casualty event with involving firearms.
Yeah, and again, Craig, I've got to see what the legal standard is for it as well, because is there a difference between they did nothing as opposed to they did it wrong? Because that's what happened here in the Charlotte case. They did it wrong.
Right. Well, and yeah, in some of these cases, they did it wrong as well. But yeah, no, you're 100% right. Yeah. Especially when you have them admit that they did it wrong.
Correct. And I think that's the listen. We'd have to get maybe we ask a lawyer. Maybe we bring a lawyer on later in the week, folks, and we do stump the lawyer day or something along those lines. But that's a big standard, because to get them to admit the wrongdoing beforehand might have given, like I said, that legal standing to get in there. We'll find out. We'll do some research. We'll let you know.
But in the end, like I said, in many of these cases, we know that it's oftentimes a failure of government in a lot of these cases. But for some reason, we tend to want to blame the firearm when, government didn't do either the government or the law that they put in place that they said was supposed to stop these things from happening. The laws don't work, which we already know that the laws don't work.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Anyway.
That's the reason these cases are going down, right? Because the laws aren't working.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, especially when it comes to background checks, right? We all know that, listen, background checks are a great predictor of the past, all right? That's what it tells people. It tells you what you did in the past.
They do not do much to protect. You're right, they do not do much to predict the future.
No.
Okay, moving right along. Okay, this was an interesting one. So there's this gentleman. Let me pull up his name here real quick. He's a former executive with a company. His name is DuVall. David DuVall. He basically won a lawsuit. He was fired by a company that was trying to expand its diversity. But basically, he was an executive who was fired for being white. And he was fired just before his 5-year anniversary, where he would have gotten a larger settlement when he what they call it, or severance package. Well, he would have gotten a larger severance package. Anyway, but it's clear it is such a case that a jury decided that it was so clear and obvious that he was fired because he was white, and the company is still like, yeah, no, that's not why he was fired. But I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, this falls right in line with the whole woke theory that many companies, many government agencies now are falling into, in that, well, we need diversity, and if diversity means discriminating against someone because they're white males, well, then that's okay. I mean, isn't that what the whole critical race theory teaches nowadays?
Yeah, and this is Navant Health was the name of the company, and like you said, Craig, listen, their response was, no, that's not why we did it. No, wasn't me. They had the wasn't me response, right, to this legally. But the court found that they clearly, had an intentional campaign to promote diversity in the management ranks. And by doing that, they eliminated David DuVall's position, and replaced him with a black woman and a white woman. Now, I've got a whole bunch of questions on that. I'm curious now. Are they doing the same job, or is it taking a white woman and a black woman to do the job of this guy, David DuVall? I want to know how much are they paying them? Are they paying them less than they paid him? Did they put him, did they put them in lesser positions, Craig, so they could pay him less? Let's say this guy was making $2 million a year. Did they give them assistant titles and only paying him $500,000 and save the money that way? Clearly that they tried to check the block on, look how diverse we are. We put 2 women in, and one of them are black. So these people at Novant Health clearly got nailed. Now, listen, David was the vice president of marketing and communication for this major healthcare organization. So this was not, a part-time job for him.
Right. Well, the interesting thing is that all the company really had to show, because they said it was because he wasn't doing his job well, right? All they really had to do was show a history of negligence in his job. All you really have to do is show performance reviews where he was not meeting the requirements for the job that he was hired to do. But the problem was they didn't have that. In fact, they tried to say, well, he had people below him doing jobs that were really his responsibility. And folks, that's called delegation. That's what a good manager does. A good manager's job isn't to do the job. It's to make sure the job gets done. Right. To work within their department, to work within the people that are underneath them to make sure a job gets done. The idea that delegating responsibilities and delegating work to employees is a bad thing. I wonder how long have these people been running this company? And because I don't know how you run an effective company if you don't have managers who are good delegators.
Yeah, and that could be part of the problem, right? That could be the reason that they've got such the turnover or forced turnover like this, because those that come in and do show some level of competency, well, they've got to go. They got to go.
Yeah, we can't have competent people working for companies, major corporations, in particular, especially in healthcare. If you're in healthcare, I'm sorry, but competence is not allowed.
Yeah, you notice that DuVall, he was sitting around the office during all the meetings just shaking his head. I can't believe I work here. That's ridiculous. These people are idiots.
Well, now he's $10 million richer.
There you go.
Minus attorney's fees.
That'll get you a good weekend away. Let him decompress a little bit, and then he can go on and start his own healthcare company.
Exactly. Okay, moving right along. The Lincoln Project, and I don't know that we talk a lot about the Lincoln Project on this program, but Lincoln Project has always been one of my, I hate these guys. I honestly do. So for those of you who do not know, the Lincoln Project is a group of Republicans, let me clarify, former Republicans. Most of them are, political consultants, who decided prior to the last election that they were going to put together this group called the Lincoln Project in order to make sure that President Donald Trump did not get reelected. And they raised millions of dollars, got money from a bunch of liberal groups, including George Soros and all of those guys, to raise money to not just go after Donald Trump, but they would go after other Republicans. They went after Republicans who were running in the Senate. In fact, they were no small part of the reason why Republicans lost both seats in Georgia. Both of the Senate seats in Georgia in that special election, and the reason why Democrats now have control of the U.S. Senate. Well, turns out that they are still out there active. By the way, this group is also now, they've been come to find out that they've been pilfering money. There's all sorts of unscrupulous stuff that they've been doing. That they, once again, behind, at least some of it illegal stuff that they've been doing. But they're still out there, and they're still contributing and doing stuff and still trying to hurt Republicans. One example was in the election that is coming up for the state of Virginia. Glenn Youngkin, who is the Republican candidate, they were sending people to pretend to be white supremacists to his campaign events. They were hiring people to dress up like Charlottesville protesters with tiki torches, and go and pretend to be supporters of Glenn Youngkin's in order to help elect Terry McAuliffe, the Democrat former
Candidates.
Clintonite
Yeah.
to governor there in Virginia.
Yeah, I remember Virginia's weird. They have a one-term term limit for governor. So McAuliffe used to be governor, and after he served his one term, he had to stand down. Well, now he's up for re-election again, like you said, against the Republican candidate Glenn Youngkin. Craig, these Lincoln Project peoples, I just want to sit with them and have them show me on the doll where the president's tweets hurt them. Show me where his tweets hurt you. Because that's all these are. These are those anti-Trumpers. They anti-Trumpers, never Trumpers, whatever you want to call them. These are people that, because they couldn't handle some tweets, lost the Republican-held White House and lost the Senate because of it as well. So, these people, we should put under the bus, but let's light the bus on fire while they're underneath it as well. These were they set out some fake, radicals, right? Is what they did. This is, and when you see the way they dressed them up, Craig, it was like, did you guys even do any research at all on this? I mean, it's like this was your vision of what a white racist supremacist looks like, rather than what they really people would wear at one of these rallies. It was quite comical to look at them and then hear them say things, because it was almost like they were a comedy troupe but didn't mean to be one. They were that ridiculous in their efforts to try and pretend to be these white supremacist racists.
Well, yeah, and once again, it's one of those things. And these are all now a bunch of these are all consultants, which means these are people who are making money off of this.
Yeah, right.
And this was all really what this was all about. Was they just figured, you know what? I don't like Donald Trump, and I want to make some money. I want to get some of that liberal money. So now I'm going to use my position as a former Republican consultant in order to fight against Republicans. And as it turns out, some of these folks are people who I said all along were not really Republicans. They were in it for the money. And now it turns out, the truth has been borne out to, we now know this. We now know that's exactly what it is. And folks, they have made millions. And that's what's funny is you're watching the liberal media get mad now because they're like, these guys are making, that's why you're seeing now in the media the reports of all of this money being funneled to individuals and consultants, because they're mad because they're now funding or putting money in the pocket of these former Republican consultants.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely. This is greed, right? Is that where we could go with this? That's what this ends up being. I'm going to get mine. If I'm not going to get the candidate I want, then I'm going to cry and pout and get mine.
Yep.
I'm going to get the money I want.
You just nail right on the head. That's exactly what it is. And I will continue to say that the problem we have in the Republican Party, a large part of it is the consultant class. These are the people who keep getting jobs, keep getting work, no matter. They lose elections, they keep getting business. They're the ones who are also running a lot of these corporate political action committees that continue to give money to Democrats and not Republicans. They continue to buy access, while at the same time undermining the core values that actually help medium, small-sized businesses be successful and grow. They're not Republicans. They are literally hired guns. And these hired guns now are, they're definitely showing that they are open to the highest bidder.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And that's just, it's greed. It's despicable. And again, let's put them under the bus, then set the bus on fire.
I do not disagree. Do not disagree at all. Okay, now we're going to move on to, another form of racist, and this is where you actually find the true racists are really, really on the left. In this particular case, she is a women's studies professor.
Women's and gender studies, yes.
Women's and gender studies, which, okay. She basically has said that she was pointing out in a presentation that she was giving, she was talking about how the birth rate is declining, in particular among whites. And she basically is saying that, they deserve a declining birth rate. that they push policies. They can no longer afford to be able to have children. So therefore, and it's because of them and their racist policies that this is happening. And well, they kind of deserve it. And I'm just wondering, how does a professor at a major university keep their job saying stuff like this?
This is, if everybody's afraid, Craig, right? If we say that she's a racist, then we look like a racist saying she's a racist. She's so far beyond not qualified for her own position. First off, you got one of these jobs where gender studies, right? What is gender studies? Okay, you've got to listen. There's really, and I apologize to anybody else out there, but it's medical, it's science. There's two genders. That's all there is. Right? You got the twigs and berries, and you got the not the twigs and berries. All right, that's all there is to it. There's nothing else in between. You can feel like whatever you want to feel like. That doesn't change what you got going on down there. So. It's her degree is fraud, right? So we know she's fake. She talks about her like the critical race theory, like you just said, where it's real, and that's the reason white people don't like it because it's real. What this woman is just absolutely ridiculous. How she's holding this position at this major institution is exactly the question, Craig, that we should be promoting and putting out to everybody else, and letting it be known that that she's there and she's shaping and forming young minds with this crap.
Well, this is where the phrase "educated into imbecility" comes from. It is quite frankly the wokeism that has taken place now at universities. This social justice theory, which includes queer theory, feminist theory, critical race theory, none of it has withstood the scientific method of academic scrutiny. One, because they will tell you that, that is the scientific method is racist, genderist, bigoted, misogynistic, all of that. They'll tell you that it's all of that. And they tell you that because they have no actual way of proving the things that they say. What's funny is that as I've read into it, and I believe it or not, I've partially rotted my brain reading into this stuff. It's this person cites this person.
Right.
And then you go and you read that person cites this person. This person cites that person. But nowhere in there is there data or studies or evidence, actual evidence to support any of the theories, right? The theories that they put out there. There is this, I believe this so. And when you go back and you read Karl Marx, that's all Karl Marx. Karl Marx had absolutely no data or facts to support the things that he said. He simply used his own experiences and then expounded upon them and said, okay, if based on my experience, this is what I see and believe to be the case. And the problem with that is that that's just one person's experience. That's anecdotal evidence is not evidence of anything.
It should come as no surprise, Craig, that this is coming out of Rutgers University as well. And for those that didn't know this, so here's a little factoid for you. Rutgers University is the State University of New Jersey. It used to be New Jersey State University, and they changed it 7,500 years ago to the name Rutgers. So it is a state university. It is the state university there in New Jersey. So this is more of Phil Murphy's kind of stuff, right? This is kind of New Jersey wacky liberal policy that they're paying for, the state of New Jersey's paying for, and they're allowing her to put forth. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And you know what? Ironically, Craig, this woman's name, this professor's name, her name is Brittany Cooper, which may be the whitest girl's name I've ever heard in my life. Yet she's a black woman teaching race theory, critical race theory. Well,
but you know what? The thing though is I know you blame Rutgers, but this same stuff is being taught at it's being taught at Princeton. It's being taught at Harvard. Being taught at Yale. It's being taught at Stanford. I mean, this is
from private universities. I expect that from private universities, right?
Well, once again, UC, all of the entire UC system, the CSU system, it's at almost every major university, which is, by the way, is where a lot of this stuff has fermented for the last almost 100 years. before now finally starting to find its way out into corporate America, finding its way into mainstream society and corporate America and academia, in education of our children, in entertainment. Like I said, it is full-blown education, educating kids and people into imbecility. It's indoctrination. It is not education. Because if you dare challenge any of it, in particular, if you challenge it with facts and data, well, then you clearly are a bigot.
Well, and again, listen, my point being, when it's taught at a state university system, look towards the state government to see if it's allowed. You won't find this in a Florida State University system. You won't find this in a Georgia State University system, a Texas State University system. You will find it in the private colleges, because guess what? They have to compete against those other colleges, so they're going to find opposing points of view.
You know what? I will actually look up, because I'm willing to bet you it's there.
Where?
I'm willing to bet you it's there. It may not be as prominent as it is. As it is in some of these other more liberal states, but I'm willing to bet you dollars to donuts it's there.
Well, I can tell you for a fact that Florida passed a law. It's illegal. It cannot be taught in the state university or state school systems.
Well, we shall see.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up, but I'll bet you it was being. I'll put it this way: I'll bet you it was being taught at least.
Somebody. I remember the story from Florida. Somebody had proposed to introduce it. And before it could even make it onto paper, the Governor DeSantis, Captain Florida, and the legislature passed a law, said, nope, illegal to teach it here.
Mm-hmm. Once again, I'll bet you it's there. It may not be there anymore, and they may be being challenged, but I don't trust. I honestly don't trust any of academia anymore. Yeah. I assume that it's wrong until I see otherwise.
Yeah, no, listen, they can look it up. I'll send you some newspapers, magazines, whatever you want. I remember it rather well in Florida. It was floated as an idea, and then it was struck down and made illegal. And I think a couple other states did that. Does that mean there's not some whack job out there teaching it on the side with nobody knowing? Of course not, because you're going to have tiny little liberal school districts inside the state, no matter where you go.
Right. Well, hey, just another reason to move to Florida.
There you go. Leave them liberal politics behind, though, because we're going to strip you of them if you get here.
All right, let's move on to our parting shot today. Now, we've all been talking about this. It's been kind of the talk of the town. We're still trying to figure out exactly, they're still looking. Basically, we're talking about the shooting that took place on a movie set there in New Mexico with Alec Baldwin. As many of you know, they were rehearsing. And wound up, a firearm went off, or basically wound up shooting a camera person who died, as well as a director who was injured. And Alec Baldwin is no friend to gun owners. He's no friend to the Second Amendment. And while I think all of us can agree that both he and others bear significant fault, or some fault in what happened, being anti-gun didn't help. And I think that's what this meme kind of also adds into it. It said, this is the look you have when you realize that instead of bashing the NRA, you should have taken their safety class. That is, I don't know that I've seen a truer meme out there in the last year, but that is most definitely true. If you don't like firearms and you don't have respect for firearms, at the very least, you should be obligated to take these sort of safety prerequisite courses in order to make sure that you are not a statistic, because, Mr. Baldwin, you now, sir, are a statistic.
Remember, guns don't kill people. Alec Baldwin kills people. I'm curious, Craig. This brought up a debate late last week on a couple of other programs I was guesting on. How do you feel about the Alec Baldwin memes? Because I'll tell you what I've heard is from the conservative side, from the pro-gun side, is that it's tragedy, it's horror. We should be respectful, and we shouldn't be putting out or redistributing these memes of Alec Baldwin having killed someone. What do you think?
I think that comedy is comedy, and sometimes comedy pushes the line. But I think, like, for example, the reason why I felt okay about this one was because it also has a truth to it. The fact is that everybody should be taking firearm safety classes. Even if you never in your life plan to purchase or own a firearm, everybody should know how to safely handle a firearm in the event that you should come across one, or in the event that something should happen and you actually need it at the last moment. I just think that is something that we all should do. Just like people should take CPR, people should know how to safely handle a firearm. If you don't, then you should never be handling one. And I just think that part of what Alec Baldwin has done is he spent a lot of time demonizing an organization that has provided more safety education than any other entity or government has ever done when it comes to safely handling firearms. So I think it makes a very salient point.
Yeah, listen, I agree with you. I had a dispute about it last week, trying to defend the point, and I think I won, but every one of them. Whereas maybe tasteless, I have yet to see anything that's been disrespectful to the young woman that died. I'd probably draw the line there. She was of no fault. But every one of these just hammers home the point: firearm safety, firearm safety, firearm safety. And Alec Baldwin, I'm sorry, there's, like you said, I can't think of a more a fervent anti-gunner out there. If you had to pick somebody to have a horrible shooting accident, this couldn't have been a better selection, right? And I think it hammers home the point. Every one of these memes, tasteless humor, whether you think it's respectful or not, every one of these hammers it home: firearm safety, firearm safety, firearm safety. This never would have happened. Never would have happened for every reason. Yep. And so I'm all for it. Bring him on. Bring him on. Let him feel the pain of his negligence. All right. Let the anti-gun community feel the pain of their negligence, and that's what these memes, I think, are doing.
Well, and they actually have absolutely no scruples about. They would have no qualms about doing the exact same thing if a
they have no respect or
no
anything for us. So no, that's not even part of my argument, because that's like X in the math problem. It's a given, baby.
Right. Yep. It is definitely a given. All right, well, hey, it's about that time. Why don't you give a quick shout out to our sponsors?
Hey, let's say hi to our good friends over at Gorilla Machining, Grid Defense, and of course, our good friends at the California Republican Assembly.
Folks, make sure to visit their websites. Their links are in the description to this video. Let them know that the folks over at The Rundown sent you. Also, please make sure, if you have not already done so, please make sure to like, subscribe, and by the way, share these things. So whether you're watching us on YouTube or you're watching us on Facebook, you may be watching us at the California Republican Assembly, you may be watching us at Arms Room Radio or at 2A News. Make sure you go to the actual page, to the Rundown page on Facebook and on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe. And also make sure you hit the notification buttons. We know that these guys are trying to make sure that, they're trying to throttle us. So they don't want the things that we're talking about to get out there. So you got to make sure that you hit those things. And then what will happen is whenever we go live, you guys will get a notification. So you'll know that the program is on. Now, you know what time we go live, but it's always also good to kind of get that notification. That way you don't have to look for us. You just pop it right up on your phone or on your computer. So make sure that you guys do that. Like, share, subscribe. That's it.
Yeah, I'm going to have to sign up for the notifications, Greg, because there's been many a times where I've had to run out here. Oh, my God, it's almost 5 o'clock. It's almost 5 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, that's always fun sitting here waiting. Okay, we're about to go live. Where's Mikey?
I start making the Homer Simpson noise when I'm running.
All right, you folks take care. We'll see you tomorrow on Taco Tuesday.
See you later.